Welcome thrill seekers, and thanks for tuning in. I'm here to tell you scary stories only found on the deepest, darkest part of the web. If you're here to be scared, then you're at the right place. One time I was at the mall to play Magic the Gathering. I was 15 years old at the time and I had just finished up around 9:30 p.m. I called my mum and she was on her way to come and pick me up. I live 30 minutes away, so I had some time to kill. I live in a relatively small town, so everything closed at 9 p.m. I was waiting outside of the shop and there was an old lady with a dog sitting at the table smoking. I walked up to her and asked her if I could pet her dog. She said yes, the dog loves people. So I reach in to pet the dog, and the dog starts to bark at me, which is unusual because animals usually love me. She then proceeds to tightly grasp my hand and put it in front of the dog's face and says that I am nice to the dog. She then tells me it is good to pet the dog. I reach slowly to pet the dog and the dog bites my hand. She yelled at the dog and then asked me if I would like a cigarette. She asks my name and I tell her my name. She says, "Oh, that's my son's name also." And then she points to the 20-something buff Hawaiian dude sitting at the next table over. He was silent the entire time up until that moment, so that freaked me out. He still said nothing afterward and just kind of stared me down. At this point, I was thinking of an exit strategy. The woman then tells me that I could be a model and she knows a casting agent. Then another man walks up to her and they all start whispering to each other. Then I got a text from my mum. My headphones were in and I have my text read to me when my headphones are in. She is on the other side of the mall. They are distracted at the moment talking to each other, so I proceed to book it and run to the other side. I was speed walking and I noticed the two men following me. I then run as fast as I can into my mum's car. I get in and I see the two men walking towards the car. My mum was on the phone and starts to drive away. 10 minutes later, when she is off the phone, I tell her what happened and she calls the police. They asked us our address and they said they will send people over to get my statement. Creepy lady and her dog. Let's not meet again. About a year ago, I went on vacation with my parents. I have a phobia of being alone in public due to an incident that occurred when I was younger. I believe I have PTSD now, but that's for another story. So, the place I was vacationing at was my alma mater, and this place contains a lot of good hiking trails. Something I wanted to do, but not alone, so I took my parents along with me. When we got to the state park near my alma mater, my parents refused to walk with me because they were exhausted from fishing. I refused to walk alone by myself. I was too scared. They went with me the next day, and although I was a bit jittery, it wasn't a problem. That afternoon, I really wanted to walk along the trail at my alma mater. It was beautiful. So my parents dropped me off and said they'd wait for me to come back. I know my parents sound decrepit, but they really aren't. They just get exhausted over summer hiking. This time, I had a bit more confidence, even though I was still nervous. I hurriedly sped along through the trails, but stopped a few times to take in the pictures and enjoy the scenery. After this, I told myself I was just being paranoid, like I was when I was younger, and I really shouldn't be fearful of hiking on my own. The last day of vacationing, and I really wanted to go through the hiking trail behind the hotel. It was lined with beautiful flowering bushes and was so enticing. Nobody would go with me once again, and I was just going to go by myself when my mum decided to join me. I was a little bit nervous as usual, but a speeding bicyclist reassured me that plenty of people were out. Apparently, it was just him though. No sooner had we walked into the wooded trail had I heard a rustling noise. Curious, thinking it was some interesting creature, I stared at the rustling as we walked over a bridge, and to my surprise, out came a guy dressed all in black from underneath the bridge, down in the ravine. It was the middle of summer and he was not dressed appropriately for a hiking trail. Black t-shirt and black jeans. Who hikes in clothes like that? My heart began to race. What the heck was he doing in the ravine? Had he been waiting for us? He also came out the opposite direction we were going in, but then decided to move towards us. I stopped and pretended like I wanted to look over the bridge and said something to my mum, turning so I could see what he was doing. He was walking in our direction, and that's when I decided we needed to go back to the hotel and get away from this guy, but we needed to move past him. All of a sudden, the biker I had seen literally only 30 seconds ago comes back past us again, providing an opportunity to move past the guy without confronting him. We quickly walked back to the hotel, barely at a distance, but far enough not to be heard, and went inside. I kept wondering, why was he back so soon? Surely the trail wasn't that short. It wasn't more than 30 seconds that he had zoomed past us. I couldn't understand why he came in the nick of time, and I never found out how long the trail was because I never went back. It wasn't my paranoia either. My mum had noticed the suspicious actions of the guy and also subconsciously helped guide me back. She sensed something was wrong, and somehow we were both able to non-verbally communicate our fear and desire to head back. After that day, I began looking at crime reports for that city to see if anything had happened, but I couldn't find anything. But I still wonder, if that bicyclist hadn't shown up, would he have done something to us? Okay, so this story is pretty traumatic for me to this day. It was a couple of weeks prior to my thesis having to be submitted for my university. It all started a week or so before. I was having a late night bath and relaxing when I heard a noise. I didn't pay much attention to it as the house was very creaky anyway. It was a newly built house, but you could tell the floorboards were either cheap or old. You could always tell when someone was about. Anyway, so I got out of my bath and wrapped my towel around me while I brushed my hair. I felt eyes on me and looked towards the frosted glass. The bathroom was on the ground floor, so the window looked straight towards the main road. I saw two eyes looking at me with their hands around their face so they could get a look in. I screamed and then kind of laughed because I thought it was my partner being weird. I called his name and he came down the stairs. My legs went limp and I felt the blood leave my face. He ran outside, but by the time he did, they were gone. A few days after this incident, I was walking back from the store. As it was spring, it wasn't too dark for 8 p.m. However, as I walked outside my house, I saw two men looking through the window into the bathroom. I didn't want them to see where I lived, so I walked slowly. This only caught their attention. They walked towards me and yelled stuff to me in a language I didn't understand. As they were taunting me, I did not strike a fight or flight response. Instead, I froze. I wasn't sure what to say or do. They eventually left me alone. I gave them a finger as they turned the corner from my house. I went in quickly and closed the gate. The next day, I woke up at around 10 a.m. I went downstairs as I usually did and realised I had left some food out. I put it in the fridge and went back upstairs. I then heard a knock at the door. I went downstairs to see if it was the postman, but no one was at the door. I wanted to go back to sleep, but I just couldn't. As previously mentioned, this house had weird noises, so when I heard a loud thud, I didn't put much thought into it. I then heard a smash moments later. I was annoyed with myself as I thought that the food I had just put in the fridge had smashed on the floor. I went downstairs to sort it out, and I just saw a black foot come through the patio windows. Someone was actively breaking in. All I saw was gloves and black boots before I screamed. My partner woke up again, but we didn't see anything else. We called the police and they took our statements and fingerprints, but nothing ever came of it. After that, several attempts to open our gate were made. People would hang around opposite the house. All I can say is I wish to never meet those creeps again.